In this segment, I want to discuss a document with you by the name of Blackout Warfare, High Altitude Electromagnetic Pulse, or EMP attack on the U.S. electric power grid. Now, in light of the number of anomalies that have recently taken place, or cyber attacks, as some would say, including things like the AT&T and Verizon blackout situation that took place, a number of commercial and military planes that had issues last year, the social media platforms that have taken a number of hits, and the most recent being this Francis Key Bridge situation in Baltimore, Maryland, in which a ship blacked out twice before it crashed right into a bridge, taking out a 1.5 mile structure. And in case you forgot, remember Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum said, "Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack that would make COVID in comparison look like peanuts," right? So was that predictive programming to tell us what's actually going to come from these world elites? Because let's think about it for a second, and who's actually connected with these world elites and who's shown up at the World Economic Forum. People like Milei of Argentina, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Volodymyr Zelensky, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping. The list goes on and on and on. So how does nuclear EMP or high altitude EMPs tie into all this? Let's deep dive into it right now together and talk about how. So what exactly is a high altitude EMP or a HEMP? This is a nuclear bomb that can be sent up into the atmosphere and detonated. When this bomb explodes, it doesn't necessarily kill people and there's no real blast felt. But what it does do is create 3 phases of electromagnetic pulse that is shot down to the earth and kills all electronics. Things from your cell phone to your computer to your air conditioner to data centers, the internet as a whole, and the entire power grid, which everything else flows off of, including our food supply, water supply, etc. So it would be a complete blackout event, hence the word and the title of the document, Blackout Warfare. Now, the interesting thing about HEMPs, or high altitude nuclear EMPs, is that they're completely untraceable. Because they go up so high when they explode, there's no debris to be left and there's no fingerprint on it to essentially find out who sent it in the first place. These can be taken up by multiple means, whether it's a fighter jet, a liner jet, a submarine, even a meteorological balloon can take this up high enough to detonate. And it affects everything from government to infrastructure, to power, to water, to food. And in this report, it states that the 4 countries that have the capability to do so right now as adversaries against the United States: Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. So in this report, they say this is a massive threat to the United States. We're way behind in our technology advancements and updates. And while we once used to have some type of EMP protection in place, we no longer do. So while they do have it make sense that this is a serious crisis that the US is facing, my question is there another crisis that's really at play? And that's why they're telling us what they're going to do before they actually do it. We've seen it in the movies like Leave the World Behind and what takes place with a massive cyber attack, and that leads right into this next movie that's about to drop in April called Civil War, in which there's a complete power outage, the grids hit, and America goes into the societal collapse, which interestingly enough in this report says exactly that would happen. But my thought in this, and think about this with me for a moment, is that America and the rest of the world, because of technology and our connection to each other so much faster, are the powers that be in the elite structures that are in place terrified of us, we the people, because of the fact that knowledge is increasing at such a rapid rate that they know we will get to a point when we no longer need them or want them, and will have the means to oust them. And because that's a reality, they have to make a couple final power plays to subdue the populations and keep people under control. Think about how this would make sense in the long run. They don't create some mass casualty event to kill a bunch of people all at once. They do it in a much more sophisticated way to make people suffer. And if you look at any of these secret societies and the way that they do things, wouldn't that play right into the hand of how they typically deal with people? It's almost a twisted perversion, a lust for hurt and pain. So first they shut the power off. People go into pandemonium, go buy everything up in the stores, including all the food, all the water. If it's in the summertime, it gets extremely hot in the West and in different parts of the country. People who are sick inside of hospitals and the elderly die first. Then people begin to go out and fight against their neighbors to get supplies and get the things that they need, which causes even more pandemonium and societal collapse. It becomes an every man for himself scenario, and very quickly, things become primitive and it literally becomes a life or death scenario. And if they decide to reemerge and get everything going back again, now they have a weakened people desperate for food, desperate for water, desperate for supplies, who will fall down on their knees and beg of anyone who will give them the resources they need to survive. Complete submission from the population. What elite power structure wouldn't want that to begin with? Think about it. But some may ask, what are the reasons why they would even think about doing this in the first place? Well, let's discuss a couple of those those and run through some of those scenarios. If all systems are wiped, what if they wipe all land and property ownerships to be able to say, hey, we're going to take possession? It plays right into Agenda 2030 where they say you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Think about their ability to do away with crimes, with corruption, with business dealings that they want to slide under the table so nobody finds out about them on a mass scale. Billions and trillions of dollars. Now they can wipe the slates clean and start fresh. Could this be the initiation of the Great Reset? 15-minute cities, lockdowns, censorship. Now, instead of having to come in and implement something, it's just the way it is. It's the way the new beginning has started. And you'll either accept it to get what you need. You'll receive the mark on your hand or on your forehead to buy, sell, or trade. And according to this paper, this doesn't seem so far-fetched and hypothetical anymore, does it? And it makes so much sense. Instead of having to sneak a nuclear warhead in through a truck or some type of ship that can easily be detected at all these various harbors across the US, or to hack some system and create a minor cyber attack that can take out some type of structure, that they may end up finding a fingerprint and find out exactly who it was and who did it, just as they would with a nuclear situation on land. They would still be able to find who it is and retaliate upon that country, that scripted scenario, if you will. But it would be so much easier to take this bomb up, which can be undetected, untraceable, no fingerprint, drop it in the atmosphere 400 kilometers above the US. And as they state here in this document, I'm going to read you the 5 different scenarios that it really doesn't matter where they drop it. As long as they drop it from somewhere in this altitude, it's going to have the desired result. And this is why any military expert or planner that's choosing to do something against the United States would want to do this to begin with. Or in this case, the elite power structures that are putting their script together, this is how they would want things to end. It says in the last paragraph on page 30 of this document that Meditech assessed the results from multiple attack scenarios, including 5 E3 HEMP blast wave attack scenarios. All scenarios postulating a single nuclear weapon detonated at a high altitude over the United States. The 5 scenarios assess the results of a hemp attack using a single high-yield nuclear weapon at 500 kilometers to generate peak hemp fields centered over 5 different U.S. locations, including New York, Chicago, Dallas, Portland, and Las Vegas. And on page 31 of this document, it says at the end of each scenario, these scenarios collapse the entire U.S. power grid. And according to this EMP Commission assessment, they've clearly stated all life-sustaining critical infrastructures are seriously at risk, including government, military, electric power, telecommunications, water, food, transportation, petroleum and natural gas, emergency services, banking and finance, and space assets. And in the aftermath of this type of attack, a US president wouldn't be able to get up and do anything because all military weapons and technologies would be completely dismantled. So they would be rendered useless. It would be a complete paralysis of the US and a collapse from within without ever having to come in and fire even one bullet. And these are the types of vulnerabilities that we currently face. And while they say that it's from these other sources like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, in reality, I believe that the true threat is from the power elite structures that are all connected throughout these countries and globally, within their societies, within their organizations, within their playbook, as they see the rise of knowledge and power and connection between people across the world, that we're starting to wake up and uncover from this madness and realize this fabricated reality. The veil has fallen. We're seeing them for who they truly are, and we're fighting against it. And before we can come and take what is rightfully ours, they're going to make a final power play to try to subdue the nation. And why not start with the strongest nation in the world, the USA? But I want to hear what you guys have to think about this and hear your insights, your criticisms to this, but also any other information and intel that you might have pertaining to this. I want to see your perspective. So drop your comments down below and let me know what you think. And also, if this content is valuable to you, make sure you follow me on all platforms at Joey Vantes and consider donating to alternative media. You can do so by hitting the link down in the description or the bio, depending on where you're watching this, or at joeyvantes.com. And that link should be right here on the screen for you guys. Listen up, coming up in the interview series, we have a star-studded lineup for you. If you missed this past one, make sure you go back and check it out either at joeyvantes.com or on my X channel with Dr. Peter McCullough, one of the world-leading experts of COVID-19, who shared some really insightful information, powerful, including the recent win legally that they made in regards to the FDA and ivermectin. But this next upcoming interview will blow your mind and is going to shatter a lot of glass. Because of the controversy surrounding this specific topic of 9/11, this next upcoming interview with Richard Gage, who was the former CEO and founder of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, will be coming on and will be doing an interview with me exclusively on X and my website, joeyvantes.com, to talk about all things 9/11, and you don't want to miss this. So stay tuned. Make sure you lock in. Consider dropping a donation to support alternative media. And until next time, continue to fight those psyops. See you soon.